Good evening, ladies and menfolk. It's time for another book review. Yes, that's right. We're back on schedule and actually doing one book review a week. Rejoice! Alright, this week we are doing The Other Tree by DK Mok. Now, this was another book haul grab from Book Expo 2014, and this was a very fun read. Uh, how would you put this? I don't think it would really fall under YA as most people would consider it because it's like a little bit after YA would fall, what YA would fall under, I think, or at least what most people I know of what they would consider YA. So if that's not confusing enough, let's just do the back cover and then we'll give you a little preview of the first page in a bit so you can get an idea of the writing style, because this is a really good book and I really want to delve into it, so let's get rolling. It's been 4 years since Chris Arlen graduated with a degree that most people think she made up, and she's still no closer to scraping up funding for her research into rare plants. Instead, she's stacking shelves at the campus library until a suspiciously well-dressed man offers her a lucrative position on a scientific expedition. For Chris, the problem isn't the fact that they're searching for the biblical tree of life. Nor is it the fact that most of the individuals on the expedition seem to be fashionably lethal mercenaries. The problem is that the mission is being backed by Sinocorp, the corporation responsible for a similar, failed expedition on which her mother died 11 years ago. However, when Chris's father is unexpectedly diagnosed with inoperable cancer, Chris sees only one solution. Vowing to find the Tree of Life before Sinocorp's mercenaries, Chris recruits Luke, an antisocial campus priest undergoing a crisis of faith. Together, they embark on a desperate race to find Eden. As the hunt intensifies, Chris discovers growing evidence of her mother's strange behavior before her death, and she begins to realize that Sinocorp isn't the only one with secrets they want to stay buried. That is definitely a very high-level rundown of what goes on in this book. There's a lot going on in here. You have the main faction of Chris and Luke, who are not as dynamic a duo as, say, Indiana Jones and Short Round or something like that. They are not that well. They're not that good. They're a step or two below that because they haven't really been working as not treasure hunters per se, but ones who can go around the world, find these random clues, decipher things, figure out where Eden is, of all things. Like, it's not that easy to find. It's actually very complicated. Although there are multiple tests to get there, akin to Indiana Jones. Only this, I feel like, would be very interesting to see done as a movie to figure out how they would do the special effects for those tests, because I mean, like Indiana Jones's search for oh god, how can I blank on that? The chalice, the Holy Grail, duh. The tests he go through, these are a little more complicated and just as deadly. Actually, some of them are a little more deadly than that. So, yeah, definitely well worth the read. And you got Sinocorp, who has all of the money, all the resources, all the tech, all the mercenaries to find this place. And you got these two people. And there's another faction in there as well, similar to Indiana Jones and the search for the Holy Grail. There's this secret faction who's trying to keep things hidden, only these people are pretty proactive about doing that in a very awkward way. Well, awkward in that they use certain plants and animals that they really shouldn't be using for that. It's really not what they should be doing. But yeah, it's a three-way race to find the Garden of Eden and the Tree of Life. And the only spoiler I'll give is that I'm curious what would have happened had they found the Tree of Wisdom. Because, I mean, that's the one that got everyone in trouble in the first place, yeah, but I was kind of expecting for them to find both trees rather than what they ended up finding. But hey, it is what it is. Before I get completely off track, let's do the first page and a bit, kind of like just the first little scene, because it really is kind of interesting, and it gives you an idea of the writing style so you know what you're getting yourself into. Alright. The problem with immortality isn't the boredom, or the loneliness, or the having to pretend to be your own descendant every few decades. The problem with immortality is essentially one of supply and demand. Despite the fact that there doesn't seem to be an actual supply, there is, and always has been, an insatiable demand. It's an ancient, almost irresistible drive. I want to live. And although the drive rarely goes away, the individual almost invariably does. So scientists struggle to stop telomeres from shortening. They create pluripotent stem cells, and they dabble in the idea that traveling faster than the speed of light may actually reverse time, if you wanted to sit in a tiny speeding capsule for eternity. Nearly every culture has its immortality myths. The immortal gods of Greek legend, who then became the immortal gods of Roman legend, in one of the earliest examples of rebranding. But the stories that draw people in, the ones that plant a seed of hope and festering discontent, are the stories of those who became immortal. The vampires of Europe, the alchemists brewing the elixir of life, the explorer seeking the fountain of youth. Even the more buttoned-up belief systems have a thing or two about human immortality. Go back 1,000 years, 5,000, 100,000, before countless generations begat countless more, before the fire and brimstone, before the burning bushes and pillars of salt, there was a garden. Everyone remembers the tree that caused all the trouble, the one that led to the fall from paradise, and all the subsequent finger-pointing. But sometimes, people forget. There was another tree. And that is all you get. You're gonna have to get a copy of the book to find out what happens. Just why they need to find the Tree of Life, and who finds it first, and what do they do with it? How does it all go down? And what happens along the way? It's actually a very well-written book in that a lot happens, the stakes just keep getting raised, and the two protagonists keep on having stuff thrown in front of them to complicate things, but they keep finding ways of persevering and getting around it. But it's not easy. But it's still just believable enough that you don't have to completely break your suspense of disbelief in this situation. So it doesn't get so ridiculous that you actually stop and think like, really? Really, you're going this way? No, he doesn't do this. This is actually very nicely balanced, so I did not feel that way, at least. Your mileage may vary depending on your preferences for reading and storylines and all that. But if you do happen to read it, please respond and let us know what you thought of the book, because I'd love to discuss it, because this one I am going to have to get a copy of my own, because we are giving this one away, so I'm not going to be able to hold on to it. But yeah, I think I'm going to have to get a copy of my own. And flipping over to Amazon, this book runs for $7.95 retail, but as with most things nowadays, you can find it for a little less depending on how well your search abilities are and what your local options are for bookstores or libraries and whatnot. And it says right there on the Kindle version is $5.79, so presumably the iBook version and other equivalents are along the same lines. So depending on your preference, if you prefer the print versus the digital, to each their own. But yeah. This is a fantastic book, and I am looking forward to checking out some of the other stuff by this author. Flipping back to their website. It's mostly short stories, it looks like, but let's just go to the book section. I want to snag Autumn Moon at some point. Check that out. Keeping It Together. That one looks interesting. And The Obsolete Soul, because why not? So yeah, definitely worth checking out their website. It's dkmok.com, DKMOK. Nice and simple. And as we mentioned before, we are doing another giveaway. So as with the previous week's version. If you want a copy of this book right here, this one is not signed, unfortunately. So it's this book, but along with this book did come a corresponding necklace, which I'm going to try and zoom in on this for you so you can see it. It's a little locket with key that holds it together, and then the tree. So this is going to come with it to make up for that, to make up for it not being signed. So if you would like to get this BEA copy along with the necklace, check out the link, the details for how to apply, and the winner will be chosen next week on Friday, which I believe is actually July 4th. So for us Americans, happy July 4th when you come back and check out who won. And for everyone else, happy Friday for coming to check back who won. And as always, hit that subscribe button, click the thumbs up, post a comment. Have you read the book? What do you think of it? Are you interested in getting a copy of your own? Check the details so you can find out how. And if you have any questions or anything you want to talk about in regards to this book or the author, by all means post a comment, start a discussion. We like talking to you people, so have at it. Alright, until next time, ladies and menfolk, have a good night, have a good weekend. We will see you next Friday.